Miss Walker. I thought you wanted to get control of your powers.
Last time I used them.
We'll start with something simple. I'll be watching your progress from up there. Please don't try anything stupid.
Abigail Walker, more commonly known by her nickname Fetch, grew up in New Jersey, not knowing she was one of the many conduits who survived the activation of the ray field inhibitor. This all changed, however, when her powers awakened somewhere in her late teens, causing her parents to try and turn her over to the authorities, knowing that they were essentially sending their daughter to prison. To prevent this, Abigail's brother, Brent Walker, ran away from home with his little sister. As they moved from city to city, the siblings grew desperate for some sort of comfort and solace, ultimately coming across a group of drug dealers and becoming addicted. Brent was the first of the two to get clean, and realizing that the DUP's authority did not extend beyond the border, he made plans to sneak into Canada, encouraging his sister not to use her powers, and thereby not attract any attention to them. One day, Brent returned to Fetch missing some teeth, a consequence of the gangs he was running with, and this prompted Fetch to go cold turkey. On the night the two were about to escape from Seattle into foreign waters, they were ambushed by the Occurrence while Abigail was getting their money. While Abigail was able to get away, Brent was not so lucky and was captured. Abigail made contact with Brent's former employer Shane, who took advantage of her naivete to manipulate her into helping him win a gang war with the Occurrence. When Brent was finally found, Shane took him prisoner and forced Abigail to continue helping him, single-handedly handing him control of Seattle's drug trade and even securing him the police's favor. Unfortunately, with the DUP onto them, Abigail had become a dangerous liability, and Shane attempted to kill her via gas chamber. Not only had he failed, but Abigail's rage allowed her to break out of the trap, which led her to negotiate a new deal with him. Either he would hand over her brother, or she would pick apart his gang and his operation piece by piece. Left with no other choice, Shane arranged a final confrontation with Abigail at the Crocodile, where he stuck her with a drug-fueled needle, and in the resulting haze, killed her brother Brent, leaving her emotionally distraught and defenseless as the DUP took her away to Curtain K. Over the next 2 years, Abigail was trained to use her powers offensively with the unwilling help of another conduit, Eugene Sims, using his powers to create holographic targets. She was also forced to retell the events leading up to her brother's murder. With the tale complete, Augustine revealed that Shane was in custody and offered Abigail the chance to kill him, a deal that Abigail accepted without hesitation. Abigail's initial attempt, however, instead blew a hole into the outside world, where Shane tried to escape by commandeering an APC, and with Abigail hot in pursuit. Thanks to the DUP's unwilling assistance, Abigail caught up with Shane and slowly took her revenge upon the drug lord. With Augustine declaring her ready, she had her released into the military's custody alongside Eugene and Hank, the latter of whom revealed he had smuggled in a paperclip. Following her escape from the Department of Unified Protection, Abigail set up a base in Seattle, where she began targeting drug dealers out of revenge for what happened to her brother. She later encountered another conduit, Delson Rowe, and became an ally of him, helping him take down Augustine. She would then either aid her fellow conduits in jump-starting a new era in which humans and conduits could coexist, or join them in taking control of the city and usurping the DUP's position of power. As a prime conduit, Abigail has demonstrated the enhanced physical condition and healing abilities that all prime conduits possess and has showcased it several times. Even at her weakest levels of power, she was able to shrug off a briefcase full of C4 right to the face, which sent her flying out of a building and falling over a dozen stories onto the street, where she was then hit by a passing truck and got back up almost immediately as if nothing happened. She is able to casually blow up cars and smash apart shipping containers and DUP concrete barriers with simple punches and kicks. She can also dispatch the toughest of DUP troopers with ease with melee combos. She is also able to quickly regenerate from any kind of damage, including gunshots to the chest and head. This is acknowledged by Shane, who noted that shooting her to death would be a fruitless effort, and was riddled with bullets while unconscious by his men for an unknown amount of time, followed by a recovery before even regaining consciousness. Abigail also shows some proficiency in using parkour, though probably not as adept as Cole or Delson. Instead of climbing, Abigail mainly relies on her powers to scale buildings. In terms of combat skill and intelligence, Abigail is extremely adept in strategic combat and urban warfare. She received highly advanced militaristic training in Curtain K by Brooke Augustine personally for years, training for hours in Curtain K's VR arenas against endless waves of DUP troops and conduits, as well as angel and demon constructs capable of summoning legions of explosive giant spiders, teleportation, and invulnerability. She is able to easily outsmart and outmaneuver DUP troops, trying to take down conduits on a massive scale, who are capable of laying waste to entire cities, as well as take down Seattle's entire drug smuggling operation overnight. Abigail's neon powers manifested sometime in her late teens, allowing her to manipulate neon light energy, neon gas, and photon particles. She was essentially self-taught in many of the techniques and abilities she showcased prior to being apprehended by the DP, and was trained in controlling them for years afterwards by Brooke Augustine herself. As a result, she possesses a great degree of control over neon, which she can use in a variety of ways. She's capable of firing neon bolts, volatile beams of neon light which can easily pierce through body armor and hardened steel, cauterizing the point of impact in the process, as well as shorter consecutive blasts, allowing her to dispatch enemies from greater distances. She has also showcased the ability to trap enemies in stasis fields with these bolts as well. She has the ability to detect her opponent's weak spots, allowing her to either quickly subdue them in neon bind constructs, or assassinate them by destabilizing their subatomic structures, causing them to explode and dissipate into a cloud of photons and light particles. In addition, Abigail is able to use these weak point strikes to enslave and control the minds of her enemies and bend them to her whim, forcing them to fight on her behalf for a short period of time before being subdued or killed. Fetch can also send a blast of neon wind to put enemies in a stasis field, allowing her to hit their weak points easier. These stasis fields are also stated in-game as freezing enemies in time, meaning that these stasis fields temporarily halt the flow of time of any enemy caught in its blast. If an attacker ventures too close, she can also generate a concussive force field around herself to temporarily stun them. Abigail can also launch salvos of target-seeking neon missiles, which stick to enemies before detonating, setting off a chain reaction of massive, violent explosions. Abigail is also capable of transforming herself into a blazing streak of neon light to move around at superhuman speeds, jump large distances, and run up vertical surfaces. While in the state, she is also able to phase through attacks and pass through obstructions due to her physical state being that of an unstable mass of photons. Fetch is also able to project an anti-gravitational force from her arms to temporarily float through the air with her neon thrusters. As for close combat, Fetch does not utilize a weapon to channel her powers, instead relying on hand-to-hand combat, using blinding fast punches and kicks powered up by her neon energy, causing her blows to generate explosions of neon energy which not only inflict massive damage on her target, but also blast back any nearby enemies as well. She claims to have learned her pre-Curtain K training fighting style from watching anime, though she more than likely learned more sophisticated hand-to-hand combat techniques while under Brooke Augustine's tutelage. Similar to Cole McGrath, Fetch also possesses a radar pulse-like ability called Ping, which allows her to see enemies and objects through walls with a multi-city block radius. By overloading common satellites with her neon energy, she can expand the radius of this radar sense to a city-wide scale. Fetch also has some form of technological manipulation, being able to channel her neon energy into electrical objects and manipulate their functions. She has demonstrated this with the aforementioned radar satellite technique, as well as overloading DUP automatic turrets, which not only turned them against the DUP, but also augmented their ammunition to fire highly volatile neon beams, which destabilize their target's subatomic structures, causing them to explode. Finally, Fetch has her own variation of the Karma Bomb used by Delson Rowe, in the form of the Neon Singularity, in which she condenses her energy into a ball of light and throws it into the air, producing a gravitational singularity that draws in enemies and objects, including cars, DUP APCs, and attack helicopters, ending in a massive explosion shortly after. Even while inexperienced and relatively weak in the use of her powers, Fetch has shown some of the most physically impressive feats in the inFAMOUS series, being able to tank a briefcase full of C4 at point-blank range, which sent her flying out of a 12-story building and crashed into the ground, where she then got hit by a passing truck, only to get right back up as if nothing happened. She is likewise able to shrug off powerful explosions and anti-tank weaponry, such as RPG rockets, Hydra 70 missiles, and attacks from high-level DUP conduits. After further developing her powers, Fetch is capable of attacking at light speed with her melee strikes and finisher attacks, the kinetic energy of which has been calculated to be between 41 megatons and 2.57 gigatons, putting her physical strikes at city to large mountain level, equivalent to high-end nukes, and even the energy of the Pompeii eruption. She should also be comparable, or even superior, to conduits that can lay waste to cities on accident after manifesting their powers. After training for years in Curtain K under Brooke Augustine, who was considered to be the most powerful conduit at the time, she had become much more powerful, being able to effortlessly blast through the walls of Curtain K in a fit of rage, which were specifically designed to contain those aforementioned conduits. She would then go on to fight evenly with an early game Delsin Rowe, who could convert the mass of an entire human being into energy and absorb them, which would produce an energy equivalent to 1.5 gigatons. After being recaptured by Augustine alongside Eugene Sims, she was able to survive being encased in a giant concrete cocoon and plunged into the ocean, and then withstanding Delsin's karma bomb that had utterly demolished the entire island fortress, which was calculated to be 5.7 kilotons, or a small town-level impact. She would then make her way back to shore, none the worse for wear, and aid Delsin in his assault on DUP headquarters. While her striking strength has shown to be quite impressive, being able to send enemies flying several feet with a single punch, and generate massive shockwaves which can cause cars to explode and be sent flying, she hasn't shown any notable feats in terms of lifting capacity, with her only demonstration of such being able to physically grapple with Delsin Rowe, who could effortlessly lift a car off his brother and toss it across the street. However, they both can in turn possibly scale to Cole McGrath's lifting capacity, who could easily yank around vehicles weighing up to nearly 50 tons, and being able to overpower a Devourer, which has a calculated body weight of 375 tons. Finally, in terms of speed, this is rather straightforward, as she is able to transform into a streak of neon light, and is blatantly stated to be able to run at the speed of light, by both in-game descriptions and Delsin's own statements.
Speed of light, baby!
However, as shown in First Light, Fetch is able to utilize clouds of neon gas to run even faster, allowing her to literally become faster than light. This also logically scales to her reaction and combat speed, as she can maneuver while traveling at these speeds, fire neon beams described as lasers and light numerous times, and consequently being able to dodge these same light-based lasers from Delsin during their fight. She should also be superior to Cole McGrath in terms of speed, who himself has multiple relativistic to light speed feats. Thank you guys for watching. It's been a while since I've done any of these type of analysis videos, mostly due to me being a lazy bastard. But I plan to actually do more videos like this soon, called a New Year's resolution. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all later.